The San Antonio Spurs are a team that after many years, people are really starting to see can try and make that play into playoff push. No longer are they expected to just go back into the lottery every single year, but instead they're expected to try and to start competing. After having another Rookie of the Year in Stephon Castle, a generational talent in Victor Wembanyama, today we look into what can this team truly be. And I think people just might need to pump the brakes. But this all starts with the generational talent with Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, when we talk about how good the San Antonio Spurs are going to be, that all starts with the franchise player. It starts with the future of the NBA, arguably, and the guy who has now the expectation to really bring this team to something higher, Victor Wembanyama. Now, Victor obviously has had two sort of unfortunate injuries already. I mean, he played 71 games his rookie year, but obviously he had that weird stretch. And then last year he had the very unfortunate blood clot, which I think really messed up San Antonio's season. I do think that there's some very, very telling information that we are getting here from Vic. One, the three-point volume exponentially jumped, and thankfully the percentage did as well. Now, again, I said this before in my old Victor Wembanyama video, I still am not sure if he should be taking 9 a game at 35%. Like, that's cool. But imagine if he was at like 7 and he's at like 36, 37%. That is just elite. The free throw percentage managed to even get better. I'm loving that he's being more aggressive now because, again, I talked about this in that same video. I felt like they used Victor too much on the perimeter, and they didn't let him kind of get low and force guys to really contend with his height. But I think obviously Victor's going to have to be even greater, right? Because the Spurs have basically gone all in on the vision that Victor will be, I mean, next year you're expecting him to probably drop 27, 28. So what, like 28, 11, maybe 5 or 4? And obviously he's giving you 4 blocks a game and a steal. I mean, the dude could basically be the best defender in the league and a top 15 to 20 offensive player. That alone in the NBA can take a team like the Spurs from the continual the continual lottery placement to we're looking to fight to get out of this first round and really make some noise here in the playoffs. I think if you're Vic, stay aggressive, force the issue down low, continue to be what you are on both ends of the floor, and no one's going to stop you. The Spurs do concern me a little bit with their guard room. So this guard room is not bad. That is not necessarily the point I'm trying to make. My point is that there's too many guards that have very different timelines. De'Aaron Fox just got re-signed for a 4-year contract. Now, for the record, right, Fox is going to be 28 this year. So this will go until he's 32. Now, Stephon Castle, who you drafted and you got Rookie of the Year, will be 24, 25 by that point. And hopefully that would mean that Stephon Castle is having a definitive role. You then drafted Dylan Harper, which, by the way, not at all a bad pick. This is not me trying to say, why would you ever do that? But you got another young guy who's going to be 18, 19. And by that point, he'll be 23, 24. I'm not sure they should have given Fox that extension, is basically what I'm saying. You should have wrote out his contract for the next, I think, year or two that he has. And hopefully at that point, Castle can take over the reins. You can have Harper there to be that kind of wingman. But also, you then have guys like Devin Vassell. And I think Devin Vassell has been good. But is he, if you're the Spurs, worth it more than any of those guys? Is he worth it more than Fox? In the now, no. Is he worth it more than the future of a Castle and Harper backcourt duo? Not really. He doesn't have the size to play the 3, I know, but Emster, he played the 3. Just because you play that position doesn't mean you should, right? J-Dub has played the 5. He should not. That's because someone's done something doesn't mean they should do it on a regular basis. I think that this guard room is going to be very awkward to me, just because you still need Dylan Harper to go through the rookie growing pains, but clearly the moves you are making is as if you're making a push for the playoffs. But Stephon Castle still needs to get through the sophomore season, and then you have De'Aaron Fox, who will be entering, like, he'll be 32 by the end of his contract, assuming he stays in San Antonio. So at what point your guard room timeline is sort of all over the place. Your two young guys are very young, but they need the time, possessions, they need the ball, right, to operate. But then you have Fox, who is a proven guy, who's trying to compete, who's trying to win, who's trying to, he has his style, but he needs the ball. That's where I get a little messy with the San Antonio situation because, again, the rebuild and what they're doing is absolutely correct for the most part. I just think once you signed Fox, things start to get a little messy for me because, again, what will his value be in 3 to 4 years? Considering the lackluster package they received for De'Aaron Fox back in Sacramento, why all of a sudden am I going to believe that his value is about to rise through the roof in San Antonio? I have no reason to believe that. So I think this guard room really needs to show up because I'm not sure the team is guaranteed to make the play-in. I'm really not. And I think that this guard room might be a big reason why, but we also have to talk about their wings and what they got to do from here. To me, it's very simple. You need to trade Keldon Johnson like now. Like, bye-bye. Listen, he's a good basketball player, and honestly, you could probably trade Devin Vassell too. Let Carter Bryant get those minutes. Let him have that chance to learn, to grow, to be a defensive menace. Let him develop his game. I think Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell at this point, now that you've got two young guards, right, and Harper and Castle, now you've got Carter Bryant, you still have Jeremy Sochan, right? You've got guys like Julian Champagnie. You've still got good wings. I think you even have a Harrison Barnes, right, who's a serviceable vet. That Keldon and Devin, unfortunately, I think the timeline and the rebuild is moving on without them. And they've got to do that sooner rather than later so that they don't just let them walk. And at that point, you sort of wasted some of your time, right? Because now Carter didn't get as much time to develop. Even like Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, some of these other dudes, their minutes are going to get, eaten up by, established guys, which is fine. I'm not saying it necessarily shouldn't be that way, but clearly the timeline is built around Victor, which makes sense. I'm going to ask you guys like this. Do you genuinely see Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell sticking around as a part of this core? Like in 5 years, the big three for the Spurs should be, on paper, this is just going off what we have right now, Victor, obviously, Dylan Harper, and Stephon Castle. That should probably be your big three. Maybe Carter Bryant if you want to take Stephon Castle out. You would have a defensive menace wing. You've got the unicorn generational guy in Victor, and you've got your point guard of the future with Dylan Harper. That should be your big three. I'm not sure if Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson, because Keldon or Vassell or both could end up coming off the bench, which is cool, but you're paying a lot of money for a bench play. I think their wing room needs to have some trades happen so they can just fully integrate the timeline and kind of, at that point, Fox can be your veteran leader, spoken guy, whatever it is. He can be that. That's fine. But at that point, it's a lot easier to be like, okay, Stephon, you could sneak in a couple minutes at the 2 or the 3. Or, okay, Harper, let's get you and Castle. Fox, you could sit for a little bit. We've got enough guards. San Antonio's in a weird place because I genuinely am not sure if this roster is good enough to make the play-in or playoffs. And we're going to get into my final thoughts right now. So ultimately what I'm thinking is we might be banking a little too much on the potential of this Spurs lineup before the Spurs lineup has had a full chance to really integrate with each other. So for example, let's just look at the Western Conference right now and how many teams I think will probably end up pretty confidently with a better record than the San Antonio Spurs. Oklahoma City, obviously. Houston, pretty obvious. I've got both LA teams. I've got Denver. I think all 5 of those are the top 5 seeds from last year's playoffs. I have no reason to think, unless major injuries, obviously, but that's nasty because that could work for the Spurs too. But I think that those 5 teams, I feel very comfortable going to bed at night going, yeah, they're going to have a better record than the Spurs. I feel the same way about the Timberwolves. They always find a way. The Timberwolves always find a way to be competitive. At one point in the season, they'll rip off a crap ton of wins, and at that point, they'll stay more than afloat. Memphis. I can see Memphis still having a better record. Even if I think Golden State has a worse record, it still might be better than what the Spurs have. At that point, I've got 8 teams I feel fairly confident will have a better record. Dallas is a little dependent on what Coop does. If Coop comes out and he's hooping, and him and AD are rolling and they're doing their thing, they'll probably end up with a better record than the Spurs. At that point, you could put the Spurs in at 10, right? You got them, Sacramento, Phoenix. After that, I'm not really counting anyone. Maybe Portland if you really want to get in there. But, and again, I love what Portland's doing, but they're in a tough conference, a very difficult conference. So I'm just not 100% sold, because we said this last year too. All the Spurs are going to be even better. They're going to make the play-in, make the playoffs. They ended up at 34-48. If I told you they ended up at 40-42, which got Sacramento the 9 seed, is that really a guaranteed, like, they're going to win both playing games and make the playoffs? Because this roster is starting to go, this organization is starting to push the chips in with what they did with Fox. If you're pushing the chips in, you best be sure you're ready. And I'm just not sure they're ready yet. And that's okay. And I'm sure you guys probably are. There are probably a lot of Spurs fans vehemently typing and disagreeing with me, and that's fine. But just hear me out on that, because again, I think we really got to see it to believe it. And again, I'm not saying they can't or they won't at all. I would just hedge my bets more on the I don't think so. So let me know what you guys think about this Spurs team. I think they're a good team. I'm just not sure in this hyper competitive Western Conference, where I've got a fairly confident 8 teams above them that I also think probably would beat them in a 1-game elimination setting. I'm not sure the Spurs are lined up quite yet to get into the playoffs, to get that push, to get Wemby in that type of environment. But let me know what you guys think down below. As always, this was Emster No Soups. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down below. Have a beautiful rest of your day, guys. Peace out.